Let's talk equipment. Now, when it comes to marketing, the equipment has gotten so good, most of us already own more than we need, right? But if it comes to your business and you need a cash register, yes, you just have to get a cash register. But do you need a $200 cash register? Do you need an iPad? Do you need the Square system? Do you need the Shopify system? Like, how far do you need to go? And I think that's where we fall down is we go into two camps. Either A, I meet people who want to spend nothing, as little as possible. And then I meet people that only want the best. And what we know from being a consumer is typically somewhere in the middle is the right way to go. I have gone through the gamut. Now, we're going to bring up some old videos where you can see cameras that are maybe $300 or $400 that were being used, no microphones, anything like that. We're gonna, and then maybe it's like, a studio where we built our first studio, right? And at this point, we've been through like 3 or 4 of them, and we thought we were doing it right. It was better, but not good. And then we build another studio, and we build another studio, and the studio before this one, we were into it for about $20,000, and that's between a very expensive live streaming computer, that's different cameras, multiple angles, video capture cards, different microphones, all of that stuff combined. And it wasn't great though, because we weren't getting the skill and the hands-on time. Every time we bought a new piece of equipment, you have this uphill battle of learning, right? Every time. It doesn't matter. I've got a piece of equipment right now to improve audio, and yet when I plug it in, it sounds worse because I haven't figured out how to use it better yet, and that is a very important thing to learn. So I believe that all we need from a video or a marketing standpoint, right? You're advertising, whether it's a retail business, you own a pizzeria, you own an online store, doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you're just an influencer. And I say just an influencer. I'm not saying that's lesser. I'm just saying that you don't have as many things to manage as that of, a different type of business. But I believe what we need is a cell phone. Now, it can't be a flip phone or a cell phone from 10 years ago. I believe you need one within the past 2 years. And so I've given this advice many, many times, and people fight me on it all the time. And I want to prove something to you guys. So in our career on our larger channel and my main business, I have a full-time video editor that's salary paid. He, right now he'll walk around with an Sony a7 III and an a6400. We've gone through lots of cameras. I've had, the studio we were talking about had multiple Fuji X-T3s with lenses that are over $1,000. Like at any point, we'll have a backpack full of equipment with $10,000+ with drones and all kinds of stuff when we show up on set. Now, what really matters is, can we use it? And we do tests all the time where we try out all this camera in the world. I always joke that we basically, I've got a closet behind here, and it's like walking into a Best Buy. There's everything in there, everything you could want. And yet, usually what we need is something very simple. Most of my money is actually made with a cell phone. And so when I went to China for the first time, I wanted something that was not massive. I didn't want to lug it around all the time. I wanted something that was not going to make me stand out, where it's like you've got this much bigger camera with a lens that's this big, and it's got a shotgun mic on top of it. You've got all this equipment, and you're trying to film people and get normal responses around there, and meanwhile everyone's looking at you, right? Well, the cell phone perfectly accomplished that part, and my best video to date ever, over 6 million views, was filmed on a Samsung Galaxy S9. And I bought that piece of equipment, even though I tend to be an iPhone fanboy. I bought the S9 because it could take a microphone. I still had a microphone jack. And I realized they make them for iPhone and the lightning adapter and all of that, but, ease of use. And I wanted to be able to have a lot of storage because I was there for like 10 or 11 days. We were doing lots of filming, right? So this device, which was just a cell phone, was perfect for that. And I was able to capture lots of video, and we had more than one video do over 1 million views, and the one did 6 million views, and it was much less equipment than we would have at a normal shoot. And that was because, one, I knew how to use it. Two, it was always getting the shot I needed. And three, what we were filming was actually important. And the barrier is it good enough? That's the barrier you have to get past. You need good audio. You need decent visual. Past that, you're really like, I'm looking at a microphone right now. This microphone is $700. I'm looking at one that's $2,300, but I've come to the conclusion that I don't actually think I can tune my system enough to get the benefit out of that. So that's going to be a waste of money. And I find a lot of times I'm in the same position on a lot of things. Now that I've gone from not having enough money to get a camera to I can buy any camera we would ever want, and we settle on most of my stuff gets shot on a cell phone. Anything that I'm in the field, if you will. I'm at the store, I'm at someone's house filming, anything like that. Anywhere away from this physical studio right here is a cell phone. Even when I bring my full-time video editor and videographer, he'll use more expensive cameras, but my thing that I'm going to use is this cell phone because it's so good for my workflow, and I'll explain that in a bit too. Like the camera we have here used to be Fuji X-T3 with $1,000 or $1,100 lens, and so you're looking at something there, it's like $3 or $4 grand to shoot this shot. We actually prefer, and we actually did test versus the A7 and the A6400. We just did this a couple days ago. We're actually shooting on an RX100 VA, which is, it's got camera nerd specs, right? But it's not the 6, and it's not the 7 that just came out. It's specifically the VA, what we wanted. And it's doing a phenomenal job compared to, you put a $5,000 setup next to it. We actually prefer this. And there'll be a video down the road exactly how to set this up because people have overheating problems and all of that kind of stuff, which we've run into as well, by the way. I have overheated an iPhone when I was in a very hot, I've gone to the desert in Israel, I've gone to Texas in greenhouses before, and we've had equipment overheat. And so there are different things, different tools for the job. Like we found a GoPro worked really well. Why did the GoPro work so well? Because you just dip it in water when it's overheating, and then you're good to go for another 90 minutes of shooting. You can do the same thing with a cell phone, but you have to have dedicated audio capture. What does that mean? You're wearing a lavalier mic and an audio recorder and that kind of stuff. So you can do that here too. You can't take your big old bulky camera and just dip it in water for 30 seconds and go, great, let's film for another hour. And depending on how you're doing your work, like we only have windows a lot of times for an hour or two. That's all we get in these places to shoot. And if we're waiting on equipment to cool down, that's just not going to work for us. Now, if you're just making an Instagram story or a Facebook post and you're at your own business, you've got all the time in the world, maybe that doesn't matter as much. But at the same time, for something that is that low production, and what I mean by that is you're making a moment in time. You're going to show something cool. You're going to get a bunch of people to interact with it, get those unique views that we want. Everyone, oh yes, that's cool. Have the conversation. The conversation is actually more important than the visual there. And then move on to make another piece of content, right? That's what we're trying to do. Whereas if you're in this big, epic, cinematic filming, yes, maybe you want to use something a little more high quality. If it's really going to be like this thing is going to be out there for a very long time and my name's behind it, sure. But what I've found for me and a lot of others that I interact with, knowing how to use your equipment far more important than the actual equipment you have. And what I like about an iPhone, or pick a phone that you like, whether you're a Samsung person or you're this or whatever, is that each time their new one comes out, it's the same way to use it. I love that. I love the fact that I don't have to reuse how to use a new camera. And I don't have to go, oh, it's got this quirk, it's got this thing. You get features added, but that's about it when it comes to iPhone and Samsung. You go, oh, look, it does what it used to do better. And the one limiting factor that I really felt was the big difference to most people. And when I say most people, let's say you've got a social media following of 1,000 people or 2,000 or under, maybe even 10,000, and you're going, I think what's going to grow me is buying this big camera that's really good. Usually it's the content we're making, but I think what the big difference was like a flippy screen, being able to see yourself while you're filming. That to a new creator is very important, right? And you could never really do that with your cell phone because it would be pointed at you because the back camera was always better. Well, now we've kind of stopped improving back cameras very much, and the front cameras have gotten a lot better. So you can shoot yourself looking at what you're seeing and frame your shot and do that. And yes, gimbals are a lot cheaper. We'll do a whole video on gimbals. I own like 6 of them, and to this day I don't use any of them. And even my editor, he owns a couple, and maybe once every couple months we break a gimbal out and do some gimbal work and get the B-roll shot we need. That being said, we got an army of these things, but if you were going to play with the gimbal, a cell phone one is much cheaper, much lighter apparatus. And then let's get to why I love a cell phone to do all of this. Because you always have a cell phone charger. It doesn't matter what country you're in, doesn't matter whose car you're in, doesn't matter if you forgot one over here, you can pretty much always charge a phone. You can buy one at the airport, you can buy one at the dollar store, you can charge this thing. And the reality is your cell phone can film longer than most cameras. Most cameras will run like 30-ish minutes before they run out of battery. Maybe you buy an expensive one, you buy the extra batteries, and now you're going a couple of hours. Cell phones can do that easily. Now, what are the other things that I really love about a cell phone? I personally have my workflow with editors and that kind of stuff so that I film it, and then I have everything upload to Dropbox. Now that's a service that you can get, and I'll put links down below, maybe even affiliate links if they have them. Why not, right? And I upload all my video footage there. It's shared with my editor, who lives remote, by the way. And what's good about that is the minute I get back into my Wi-Fi range, so I come home or I'm at the office, whatever it's going to be, I set that phone down, boom, it starts uploading right then. I don't have it on an SD card that could go bad or anything like that. I can't lose it. It's always on me. You're always guarding your cell phone no matter where you are. And maybe you get back to the hotel room. Boom, you get back on the Wi-Fi. Great, start uploading that footage. It might be gigs worth, but you'll be so happy to have some of it or most of it uploaded after the course of a filming for a week than none of it, and you had card corruption and you can't go back on the trip or something like that. So that makes it really easy. The other thing that I really love is it's clunky at best to transfer footage from a camera directly to a phone. And we all know this. It's so much easier to create the posts on Facebook and Instagram and even YouTube, really, on your phone. If you just have it all living on your phone. So I always have a copy on my phone. I've got a copy in the cloud, and I can even edit if I need to. I just start doing it and I go, boom, let's get that out. And if you've watched the video on motion versus action, you'll know this makes it very easy to take a step and just get it out there and get your returns coming in instead of getting lost in like, well, before I would always take so many pictures, like, oh, picture, it's gonna be great for Instagram, great for Facebook, I'm gonna do all these things with it. And then I'd get in the car, the taxi or the Uber, and we'd be going to the next place, and I'd be like, well, I guess I should just like charge up the battery, and it eats too much battery to get a Wi-Fi sync between my phone and the camera, but I do want to upload something right now, and it would just not get done. Meanwhile, if everything's on my phone, every time I'm at the airport, every time I'm in an Uber, I'm uploading content to one of the social media platforms and getting it out there and getting those views, which long-term translates to more viewers, more dedicated viewers, and more sales. And I don't believe currently there is anything that can rival that. iPads can't rival it. Nothing can rival it. I so badly tell people what I wish there was a camera that could just upload directly. And I know the RX, or not the RX, but the Canon G7X3 could do that live streaming and stuff a little bit. But what I really want is a thicker version of a phone. Give me like a camera footprint that can text and use Messenger and all these social media platforms. That would be great. Give me that 1-inch sensor and all of that, but we don't have that yet. But we've gotten so good with our cell phones that most people, and when I say most people, I'm talking about the unique viewers that we focus on this channel. People, if you go to the video, and we'll bring some of those comments into this video so you don't have to go there, but on that video, it's got 6 million views. So many people are asking, wow, what camera did you use? It's amazing. And the reality is we used a cell phone and we used saturation and color profile settings in the editing phase to get that look. It wasn't some big fancy camera. So many people could do that, and yet they're not. And that's what's holding them up, is equipment paralysis on a lot of this. And there's always times there's times to invest in equipment. You got extra money. You think it's going to make your workflow better. Those are good reasons. But if you think You're not growing because you're not in 4K. You're not growing because you're not getting that B-roll. You're not growing because of this piece of equipment. It's highly unlikely. Even people with poor equipment are still getting views. If you make good enough content, you're gonna get the views even with poor equipment. And we thought about launching a whole series on using some of the worst cameras we could find to make great content and proving that, but we know it. You see those bad cat videos. You see the vertical filmed thing that's viral on the internet. It's still out there. And so we know that it's not the equipment. Equipment can make your life easier, software can make your life easier, but find a flow that's going to work for you. Like my editor, he likes the flow of connecting his camera directly to an iPad to be able to do some editing and some light uploading and that kind of stuff, and that works for him. I want all of my stuff to run off of Bluetooth and to be able to run one battery pack that I always have with my carry-on, and in my backpack I run 2 battery packs that can charge my phones. And this might sound crazy, but I went to Peru to film in the jungle underwater and all of that, and I brought all kinds of cameras. I brought cell phone, I brought GoPro, I brought camcorders, I brought DSLRs, and what I ended up using was a cell phone. Because you fall in the water. You don't want that $3,000, $5,000 camera just getting bricked right there. You don't want SD cards getting wet. You don't want to carry all that equipment when you can be, robbed and that kind of stuff. And so that first trip, I used my cell phone 90% of the trip. I only had the one. It had to go underwater. It jarbled up some of the audio. The next time I went back next year, I brought 2 iPhones. That's right, 2 iPhones. One to get wet, one to stay dry the whole time. It was super easy. 1 cord to charge them all. There was 1 in the vehicle. There's 1 in my bag. My setup now consists of something this big, modular. Both of them are waterproof. There's so many good things about it. I would set up 1 camera underwater. I would go film another thing, go check out a waterfall and do all that kind of stuff. And then I had 2 phones that I could dump footage too. Like let's say you've got 1 main camera and you've got a backup camera. You can airdrop, right? You can do that with all of these types of cell phones. There's so many options. You could also, I had other people with me that I had flown out there and they were filming and he happened to have an iPhone and he could airdrop it to me and then I could post it to social media. That was so useful. And meanwhile, yes, can this be accomplished with SD cards and laptops and iPads and Wi-Fi connections with cameras? Yes, but that equipment is more expensive and it's more steps. And that's what I'm trying to convey to you guys is buy the right equipment, and then upgrade when you have extra money. Like right now I've got Elgato lights and they're amazing and I can push 1 button and they turn on and off just like that. And I can play around with the color temperature and I can make it do all kinds of things, right? But I started with Viltrox lights and they were, $70 each and they work pretty darn good too, but they're not fully integrated with my computer. I mean, I've got the light right here. I can turn, I don't know if it's plugged in. Let's see. Nope, I was using it as a hair light, but I've got that remote right here. That's a great kit. We'll show you all those types of things, but don't think that as you're starting out, you need all this fancy equipment. And also be 100% aware, should I buy a $2,000 camera? Or should I buy this thing for my business? At the very least, you maybe should be buying some promotion or buying another influencer's time. Maybe you want to do a collaboration. Maybe you should fly out there. I'm convinced, take the money you're going to spend on equipment and on these other things that should make a difference and spend them where they will make a difference and go to that crazy place. Go collaborate with that person. Go do that thing and get that value out instead of, well, in theory, this is going to make my videos that much more watchable. I've been there, I've done it, and it's never translated that way to me. Only if I save myself time. If I can buy time back, that's money well spent because that means I can shoot more videos and I have more chances, or I can take more pictures and I can make more people happy and I can make them click more and I can make them buy more things and we can do another thing. That is very important. But just so that picture's this much more clear, your unique viewers aren't pixel peepers. That's someone that's really going to look at, there's a little bit of aberration there, a little bit of vignetting going on. No one's looking at that. They're looking at the center of your picture and going, did you go and film or shoot something cool or didn't you? That's all they care about. Think about, it's going to go on Facebook. It's going to degrade anyway. All these things are going to happen, and your cell phone is going to do it. And I believe if you own a cell phone that's considered one of the top tier, and that would probably be, let's just say, like in America, iPhone and Samsung within the last 2 years. They're putting out so many phones right now where it's like double releases. Google Pixel, great as well. Pretty much from the 2 and up, even the 1 is really good. Any of those are really starting to compare to very high-end cameras outside of physical print. Like, I need to print a billboard and all of that kind of stuff. And the super camera nerds will fight you to the death. And great, let them do that. We're business owners or wannabe business owners, influencers. We need to be nimble. We need to be quick. We need to do all these things in a timely manner. And we need to get 90% of the way there with minimal effort. That extra 10%, great. Hire that videographer, hire that photographer, anyone that's really going to learn audio, whatever it is, and let them invest that money and get that last little bit. But until you get to that point, I believe we're wasting money when we can spend it in better places. So I hope that gets you kind of like, okay, he's right. It's not my equipment limiting me. It is something else, and I'm making excuses, and I should put this money towards, you're much better off spending the money on your backdrop than you are getting your picture a little bit clearer or a little bit more bokeh or anything like that. Spend the money on the things that you want to film and photograph and advertise and make your store look better, get new carpet, clean the bathroom, get a new display, get a new open sign. All of those things will have much more impact than that camera's a little bit better.